I'm going to hang.
Hey everybody, this is the Puck Drops here, Peter Flyfoot. Very somber note, of course. I haven't been in a live stream in some time. Uh, the first part of this stream is going to be devoted to the cause and the terrible actions and happenstance that are happening right as we speak. Of course, the deadly coronavirus, which has stopped all National Hockey League play and almost all sports. And we'll talk about first how deadly a disease it is and how terrible it has been. And the sports leagues, I was very upset, but I knew that they did the right thing. You can't be playing games while there's real things going on and there are people who are sick and dying, and it's reaching into the thousands. But the governments are doing the right thing and the sports leagues are doing the right thing, and they are suspending play. They are helping the people that need to be helped, the human beings that are affected, that frankly it's just horrible to see. There are parts of the world that this is not happening in, but there are parts like Italy that we pray for and we look at and we say, hey, this is horrible. This is something that has to be dealt with. And the way I believe it has to be dealt with is you have to do a lot of research, and the scientists have to step up to the plate, and they have to go hard by doing their said research. And as you can hear in my voice, I don't know too much about the science and too much about the disease, but these scientists and these doctors do. The scientists have to work together with the doctors to find a cure. Maybe like flu, where you find the dead cell and you vaccinate it to a form of, you put the dead cell in someone and just shoot it up, and maybe you create some type of immunity. I would do that. I would try all of the procedures you can, as well as keeping the health of that said person in mind. We all have to think as human beings, and we all have to know that we are in this together and no one is alone. You're not alone. We're praying for you. We are helping you in some way, in some form. We will survive. We will overcome this. This is just a little blip. Humans are the most amazing life form on the planet because they find a way to adapt to any specific adaptation, any specific environment. It's why we are sometimes called a parasite, because we find a way. We're a species of animal, but the reason why we are referred to some scientists as a parasite is because we find a way to adapt to certain situations, and we find a way to change and evolve and stay the same species because we will not give up, and we are in this together. That being said, this is a very scary time. This is a very tough time, especially for those that are sick, and especially for those that are injured and scared. And you know what? It's right now, it's okay to be scared. And I'll also invite those who are watching this stream or thinking of watching this stream. Thank you, of course. Hit the sub, yada, yada, yada. But also, if you want to and call in, well, not call in specifically, but comment and ask questions, your comments. I'd like that. I'd love to have a conversation about the coronavirus and what's going on with culture, with sports, and with life in general. Because as I've said, sports is great, but it's a little blip on the radar. Really, what you're looking at is you are looking at humanity fighting this dreadful disease and how we can overcome it. So I'll touch on that, especially, which is important. And we stay together, we fight together. But there's going to be a lot of work that has to be done. It's going to have to be collective, of course. Absolutely, in no untimely way and in no way can we be separate? But I do think there has been some talk in the news all about a group effort, but there's not a lot of people that are in groups. We have to stop with the groups because of the disease. But if you isolate people, it makes it more dangerous and you're succumbing to a threat. So, yes, there has to be some watch on the disease and the quarantine and groups of people, but we can't isolate each other and just fall one by one by one. We have to look at it in a certain way. If any of you are fans, of stories or of little tales, there was a man, a very famous man from ancient Greece named Aesop. He wrote fables. You probably all know the dog and the mirror, the tortoise and the hare, but he wrote a very, very interesting fable that's not known as famously, excuse me for my stumbling and mumbling, about the oxen and the leopards. The leopard, And there were 3 oxen, very large, bold male oxen. And there was a leopard who wanted to eat the oxen. But the oxen would always travel in a group. They would take care of each other and they would defend each other. So the leopard told tales through birds that he was an ally with to spread rumors and spread false, fake tales to the oxen, and the oxen didn't believe each other, and they got angry with each other, and they believed these rumors, and all 3 of them separated because of the animosity held by each ox. And this happens at the end of the story, and at the end of the story, the leopard picks off each ox and eats all 3 of them. Moral of the story, moral of the fable being, don't separate even in certain danger. Be with each other and support each other. This is danger. This is to human health. This is danger to our well-being. This is just danger to our society. So we can't all isolate because we're afraid of this disease, and I understand that point being, but we have to band together as human beings. When we are in our darkest hour, we band together and we find a way to find our greatest part beneath our soul. And so there needs to be quarantine. There needs to be a sort of outlook. Yes, but we have to do it together. We have to be one. We have to force ourselves to come together and say, this is not going to stop us. We will overcome this. We will survive. We will be one, and we will rise out of the ashes like a great phoenix, spreading our flames across the desert plain. I take great pride in my music that I listen to, and one of my favorite bands, Sabaton, has a song about the battle of, actually I don't remember the battle specifically, but it was in Belgium. Battle of the Bulge, that's the battle. But when I bring that up is that song has a line in it, a chorus line, that I think we should all look at, we should know in this troubling time to humanity. Here it is. We will resist and fight hard, 'cause we are all in sight. We take up arms and fight hard, resist and do what's right. Let's look at these words again. We will resist and fight. We will resist this disease. We will resist all of the problems going on in the world, and we will fight it as one, as all humanity, as all humans, of all people. Fight hard. We're not going to give up. We're going to fight to the hardest of all humans, of all people. We will not give up. Because we are all in sight. We are not down. We are not dead. We are upcoming from the ashes. We are still living. We are still here. And for those who have passed away, We will fight for them. We will live for them. We take up arms and fight, and that'll be with the money and with the banding together, and also with the doctors and the scientists. Fight hard, never giving up, as we said. Resist and do what's right. We're not going to forsake any of us. We know what is right. We know what the correct thing is to do. We know how to do it, and we know what to do. So there is that. And also, we will get into the hockey that I will bring up, because there is hockey to talk about. There is the National Hockey League. And we'll touch with the American Hockey League, but they just suspended play today, and they will start play up when the NHL does. Who knows when that will be? I pray that it will be this season, along with the National Hockey League and other hockey around the world. But we will speak of that, and I just wanted to say we will survive. And I want to talk about to the nations that of people who watch us, who have commented, Hockey Nation specifically. I wanted to say that stay with us. The leagues are coming back. Hockey is coming back, but really the world is in trouble. And I want to let you know, Americans, we will survive. Canadians, we will survive. British, we will survive. Sweden, vi kommer att överleva. The Finns, all our Finnish friends, me slaviame. All of our Danes, vi vill överleva. I also apologize if I'm butchering all these. All of our Czech friends, fresheme. To all our Ukrainian friends, my preshviemro. To all of those in Mother Russia, my vishviam. To all of the fellow Deutschland Germans, wir werden überleben. And to my brothers in arms in Poland and Polska, I stand with you. Preshvami, we will survive. We will overcome this. We will come back, and hockey will come back, and we will rise as one. I guarantee it. So the last thing I will say, the hockey side of it, the coronavirus has suspended National Hockey League play, but I have not suspended National Hockey League play in my mind. In my mind, the NHL is still going on. And so I have done a couple of things. I'll be getting a video every day. The next videos will be shorter. But it's pretending as if the NHL has continued play. So I will update the scores by way of what I'm not being a homer. I'm just how I believe the NHL games would go. By scores and by standings all the way to April. If the NHL is not playing by then, we'll have the playoffs too. If the NHL decides to fully cancel, and I pray it does not do that. So I will go by the two scores of yesterday and today, and show you what the standings are. Also, no one has clinched by my method, but teams are close. So last night's scores, also look at standings and such. And I'll explain that. Last night's scores from my updated scores. The Devils defeated the Carolina Hurricanes 3-2. The game-winning goal scored by Pavel Zacha at home. The Vancouver Canucks went to Phoenix and won 4-2. The game-winning goal there scored by Tanner Pearson. The Minnesota Wild hosted Vegas and won 3-1 at home. And the game-winning goal there scored by Matt Dumba from a screenshot. The Capitals hosted the Red Wings and went to overtime, and the game-winning overtime goal scored by Nicholas Backstrom. The Buffalo Sabres beat the Montreal Canadiens 5-2 in Montreal, Quebec, and the Buffalo Sabres won off of a goal scored by Sam Reinhart. The Dallas Stars won in overtime 2-1 over the Florida Panthers, and the overtime goal there was scored by the captain, Jamie Benn. The Toronto Maple Leafs blanked the Nashville Predators 3-0 at home with the game-winning goal scored by Kasperi Kapanen. The Philadelphia Flyers won in Tampa Bay 4-3 with the game-winning goal scored there by Kevin Hayes. The Pittsburgh Penguins defeated the Columbus Blue Jackets in Columbus 6-4. The game-winning goal scored by Yevgeny Malkin. And the Islanders beat the Calgary Flames in a shootout 3-2, and the shootout goal scored by Matt Barzal, and that won the game. That was yesterday's scores. And then for today's scores, the Boston Bruins beat Buffalo 4-1. The game-winning goal scored there by Charlie McAvoy. The Colorado Avalanche beat the Vancouver Canucks 5-3. Game-winning goal scored there by Nathan MacKinnon. The St. Louis Blues beats the San Jose Sharks 4-2. Game-winning goal scored by Ryan O'Reilly there. The Connor McDavid-led Edmonton Oilers score in overtime and win in overtime over the New York Islanders. They get a goal by Connor McDavid in overtime to win 3-2. And the Ottawa Senators beat the Chicago Blackhawks with the game-winning goal scored by Brady Tkachuk. So those are scores for the last two nights, and we'll do obviously tomorrow's big Saturday tomorrow on the suspended NHL. And here are the standings. No one has clinched a playoff spot, but the Boston Bruins are very close because of games played. Boston Bruins have the best record with 102 points ahead of the Atlantic Division and 71 games played. Tampa Bay is right behind them with 92 points and 71 games played. The Maple Leafs are third in the division with 83 points and 71 games played. The Panthers are 79 points and 70 games played. The Montreal Canadiens are 71 points and 79 points for Florida. The Montreal Canadiens have 71 points and 72 games played. The Buffalo Sabres are right behind them after beating the Canadiens with 70 points and 71 games played. The Ottawa Senators have 64 points and 72 games played. The Detroit Red Wings are last, have already been eliminated with 40 points and 72 games played. Let me just look at one thing. This is looking at another team. As I check the Ottawa Senators, who had 64 points. With 64 points. I apologize. I'm just trying to do some math here. That's 64 points with 71 games played, 72 games played, which is 10 games away. That would be 84. No, it's not. No, Ottawa's not eliminated. I thought that possibly they were, but they're not. But they are close to being eliminated from playoff contention. Okay. Now the Metropolitan Division. The Washington Capitals lead it with 92 points in 70 games played. The Philadelphia Flyers are second with 91 points after beating Tampa in 70 games played. The Penguins follow up with 88 points in 70 games played, almost like what they were before the suspended league. The New York Islanders ascend to a wild card one spot after getting 3 points in 2 nights before the suspension, being outside of the playoff race with 83 points, and in the wild card, in the first wild card spot with 70 games played. The Hurricanes fall down to the second wild card spot with 81 points in 69 games played. They have games in hand on most teams, the most games in hand by any team in the National Hockey League. The Columbus Blue Jackets sit right behind them with 81 points in 71 games played, two less than the Hurricanes have. The New York Rangers are right behind them. They haven't played, but they'll play tomorrow with 79 points and 70 games played. And the New Jersey Devils have 70 points and 70 games played. In the Western Conference, in the Central Division, the Blues lead everyone with 96 points and 72 games played. The Colorado Avalanche swim right behind them with 94 points and 71 games played, one game in hand on the Blues. The Dallas Stars have 84 points in 70 games played. The Winnipeg Jets fall down to the second wild card spot with 80 points in 71 games played. The Minnesota Wild are right behind them and right behind the wild card race with 79 points in 70 games played. The Nashville Predators sit at 78 points, 1 point behind the Wild, and 70 games played. And with one less game in hand, the Chicago Blackhawks at 72 points in 71 games played, last in the Central Division. In the Pacific Division, the Vegas Golden Knights lead the division by 1 point with 86 points and 72 games played. Due to Edmonton's great last 2 days, the Oilers have 85 points and 72 games played. Jumping up to third in the division are the Vancouver Canucks, who hold 80 points with 71 games played, 1 game in hand on the Oilers and the Golden Knights. The Calgary Flames dropped down to the first wildcard spot with 80 points and 71 games played. The Coyotes are in fifth place in the division with 74 points and 71 games played. The Anaheim Ducks are behind them by 7 points with 67 points and 71 games played. The Los Angeles Kings have 70 games played and 64 points, and 1 point behind them are the San Jose Sharks, who have 63 points and 71 games played. So for this suspended league year, that is the end of the suspended league video number 1. We'll just look on for the next tomorrow for the suspended league tomorrow. And you got Minnesota against the Philadelphia Flyers, the Ducks and the Kings. Boy, I wish the league was still here, but I understand the reasoning, the correct reasoning of halting play until all of this is figured out and there is no health danger at all. Tampa Bay and Detroit from Amalie. Toronto and Boston from TD Garden, the last meeting of the year in the regular season, that is. New Jersey and Florida from Sunrise. Chicago and Washington from Capital One, the last meeting of the year for those two. Pittsburgh and Carolina, the first meeting of the year. This is from Raleigh. Nashville and Columbus, the Johansson Seth Jones meeting in Nationwide. The New York Rangers and the Arizona Coyotes from Glendale. The San Jose Sharks visit Dallas to have some acquaintances with Joe Pavelski and his Stars. And the nightcap is in Calgary, Winnipeg, and the Flames. So we'll be having a discussion on those on that suspension league week tomorrow. There is a chance, as I look at the games, there is a slight chance with Columbus, Nashville, and Boston and Toronto that the Boston Bruins, or not Columbus, what is it? Yes, Columbus. There's a quick chance with Columbus and Nashville and Boston and Toronto that the Boston Bruins clinch a playoff spot tomorrow, which we know they'll end up doing anyway. So we will look into that. Everyone, stay safe, have great health. And this is Peter Fife at the Puck Drops here, signing off. Happy hockey, everyone.